We want happy customers. Customers are much pickier today, and we have a lot more buying options. Most likely you're wearing one article of clothing that was manufactured in a country other than the one you live in. Again, we buy off the internet. We have a lot more options, so we can be a lot pickier. Also, customers are a lot more vocal today. It has never been easier to leave a review, be it on Amazon or going to Yelp. So we like talking about our experiences. If we have a good business experience, we like to promote and brag to others about, hey, this great deal that we had, this great meal at this wonderful restaurant, this stay at this nice motel, or this wonderful product I just purchased. If we get burned or have a bad experience, we love getting on Twitter or Yelp or Facebook or Amazon and warning others to stay away from that restaurant or stay away from this product. So again, customer satisfaction is probably more important today than ever just because of the voice of the customer. So let me ask you a few questions here. Are your employees customer-centric with their energy and their activities, or are they mainly focused on just getting through the day? Do they understand who their internal and external customers are? Do they understand the relationship between customer and supplier? And lastly, do they understand value-added versus non-value-added? These are three perspectives that are extremely important for employees to understand if we're going to maintain that customer centricity and build value into all we do. Also, you'll find that it's a lot more fun when you're focused on meeting customer needs and satisfaction over just getting through the day-to-day activity. Okay, so first let's look at understanding value-added versus non-value-added. Remember, everything is customer-centric, so we're trying to look at all activities, everything we do from the perspective of the customer and what they're willing to pay for. For something to be value-added to the customer, it's got to meet three criteria, and it has to meet all three. It's got to change the product in some way that the customer is willing to pay for. It's got to be valued by the customer, and it's got to be done right the first time. If it doesn't meet those three criteria, it's really not value added. So let's look at an environment we'll kind of measure along the lines of that. Let's go to something that we're all familiar with, a restaurant. We'll look at a McDonald's. Let's say I'm a customer, it's lunchtime, and I'm walking in to get a hamburger. I order my hamburger. Now, there's a lot of activities that happen in that restaurant to get me that hamburger. Again, they've got to receive in the supplies, they've got to store the meat in a freezer, they've got, all these things going on. But what's truly value added to me? What meets those three criteria? I want my meal or my hamburger cooked, so they've got to cook it. I want it assembled, put together, and I want it wrapped and handed to me. So value-added activities when I walk into that restaurant and place my order are really just cooking, assembly, packaging, and delivery. Those are the only things that I see as value-added. All those other things we're paying for, well, we see those as a cost of operations, and we expect the McDonald's or restaurant to minimize those, to do their best to control those. They're non-value-added from my perspective. I know they happen, I know they're important, but that's not what I want to pay for. I want to pay for my hamburger to be cooked, assembled, wrapped, and given to me. I spend a lot of my time as a writer anymore, so I'm writing books, articles, things on websites. When I'm writing my information, that's value added. All the other things that I need to do behind the scenes like research, not value added. The people that are paying for my books and articles need to know the information is correct, but they don't care how much time I have to spend researching it. Where that's important for me to know is I need to minimize the amount of time that I spend researching. Maybe I need to spend some money to hire someone to do it for me. But the main thing is I need to understand value added versus non-value added. Eliminate or minimize so that I can focus on the needs of the customer. For your employees, again, they need to understand that so they can focus their energies on the customer. I'll ask you a question that, again, I'll often ask students in classes. Quality checks. Would you say quality checks are value added or non-value added? Your customer wants good quality. They don't want any defects. But do your quality checks meet those three criteria? Are they changing the form or the function of the product? Are they something the customer is willing to pay for? Again, done right the first time? Well, if you find something wrong, there's rework. Basically, quality checks don't meet those three criteria. So no, they're not value added. What we want to do is ensure that our processes are repeatable, capable, and reliable, and we want them very robust. A good system would be to automate all those quality checks or do what we can to ensure good quality without spending a lot of time or energy doing quality checks. Again, the customers want good quality. They don't care what you have to do behind the scene to ensure the quality. They just want good products. It's important that your employees understand the difference between value added and non-value added from the customer's perspective. Okay, another concept that's very important to understand is who their customers are. I've been in businesses before where they didn't really have a good understanding of internal customers. We all, or most of us, understand our external customer. Again, that patron at the restaurant or the person paying for construction or the person buying our products for manufacturing. But our internal customers, end-to-end users, we want to look at downstream who our next customer is and make sure that we understand that and that our goal is giving them good experience also. When I first started learning Lean, I was working for Philips Lighting and I worked in the world's largest manufacturing facility for fluorescent lights. And that end-to-end user concept, knowing your internal customers, became something that we were really focused on. And I think of one department, our glass department, which was really the beginning of our operation, where they're making the glass, using a furnace, putting all the materials together, the sand, the soda ash, little cinnamon or whatever, and making good glass. They knew their internal customer was coating. So it was going to go from the glass plant to coating to assembly to packaging, and out to the customer, to the warehouse. But the glass plant was really good at feeling the pulse of their customer, knowing how satisfied coating was. I knew a lot of the mechanics in the glass department would regularly check with the coating people to see how the quality was. They wanted good customer satisfaction with that next downhill customer. They knew if everything was good with them, then their life was easy. They were very proactive in making sure they got good glass to the coating department. Now the coating wanted to produce good quality coating on the tubes to move on to assembly. So they were always checking with the assembly group. Do you have any coating issues? Again, each group was very proactive in making sure that their next downstream customer was satisfied. Their goal was to excite their customer and make sure that they had good rapport with them and that they were delivering good product to them. And there's something about that that's exciting to us. We want the people that use our services or our products to be extremely happy with what they get. Again, it gives us good satisfaction to know that we're producing something quality and that we're valued. That's a lot more fun than just, again, trying to get through the day-to-day operation. Let's go back to that McDonald's real quick. And let's say that I'm now, instead of the customer, I'm behind the counter and I'm working, and we just finished a major lunch rush, and now I'm really behind on stocking. So I'm running out of cups. I'm running out of all the supplies that I generally use. And my soda fountain is now out of one of its canisters, and the milkshake machine just fouled up on me. And now I see I've got a bunch of customers just walking in. How am I going to view those customers? Am I going to be happy and looking at satisfying them? Or am I going to be thinking, oh God, how am I going to get through this? That's the perspectives we need to understand. We need to support our employees and to set them up for success so that they can always view their internal and external customers in a good way. That they're doing their best to satisfy them. It's a lot more rewarding than just trying to survive. Another perspective we want to make sure that our employees understand is that dynamic between customer and supplier. And most of us on some level we understand it. Again, the customers are the ones that we serve, the ones we're taking care of. But what we may not see is that subtle shifting in that dynamic between customer and supplier. Here's an example. Let's say I have an injury or an illness and I go to my doctor. Well, I'm the customer, he's the supplier. I've got an injury, I'm going to them to get fixed, to get help, to get whatever I need to get back on track. Okay, once I go into the examination room and the doctor starts asking me questions, that dynamic has flipped. Now I'm the supplier of information and he's the customer. I've got to give him good information so that he can produce a good diagnosis for me. But that dynamic of customer supplier has flipped 180 degrees. Where it's important to understand that is we want to develop a good relationship with all our customers. So we've got to help them in whatever way we can. We've got to be, we've got to understand that shift in dynamics. For management, do you see your employees as your customers to supply what they need to make sure that they meet the customer demands? Again, if we want our employees set up for success in management, we need to do all we can to make sure that they're fully supported and they're not spending all their time just getting through the day-to-day grind. It's a lot more exciting to be meeting customer demands and giving good customer satisfaction over just surviving your day. That's why I've talked about in past videos, or when someone shows up to work, they really need 3 things out the get-go just as a course of normal business day. And that's they need all the supplies they need to do their job. That's all the supplies and information. They shouldn't have to look for any of that stuff. They should have a safe work environment. This 5S organized. They need, have what they need when they need it. And the last thing is they shouldn't have to do any firefighting or dragon slaying right at the beginning of the shift. So if they show up and that's a normal day. I show up and I have everything I need in terms of information, tools, and supplies. I've got a nice organized area and I'm not firefighting at the beginning. That's an environment that has set me up for success. I can have a really good day and I can drive improvement. I can focus on the customers. I can focus on making a good day for my internal and external customers. If those 3 things aren't in place, then I'm just surviving the day. And the next day I'll go in and probably do the same thing, just try to survive it. Big difference in terms of reward and happiness. If we want employees engaged, we need to provide those 3 things. The number one reason people leave their work environment and aren't engaged is they feel like they're not contributing, they're not making a difference, they're not valued. So we need to see that we're moving forward. You've probably heard of the experiment that was done where a university actually hired several people to dig a ditch. And they paid them a good sum of money, spent all morning digging this ditch. Then after lunch, they had them go and fill the ditch in, fill that hole back in that they dug out. Now, they agreed to work for a set wage. The next day, very few of those people showed back up. There was no sense of purpose for them. It wasn't just the set wage that they were working for. We need fulfillment. We've got to know we're making a difference. We've got to know that we're part of something big. So let's wrap this up. With your employees, are they customer-centric? Do they understand value-added versus non-value-added? Can they spend their energy on value-added activities? Are they making a difference? Can they focus on meeting customer satisfaction? Or are they just trying to survive their day? Do they understand their internal and external customers? And lastly, do they understand that dynamic between supplier and customer and how it subtly shifts? We want happy customers. So hopefully this helped you. We want to focus our activities, understand value-added versus non-value-added, and help set our employees up for success.